If you're watching this video, then you're probably asking the same question that's on everybody's lips. Did Stranger Things stick the landing? Well, I'd love to tell you, but the answer is a little more complicated. So if you'll stick around and listen to me ramble about Demogorgons, marketing, and generational performances, I might be able to give you the answer you're looking for. Let's get into it.
Pretty damn spectacular.
It's almost too bad we have to blow it all up.
Stranger Things has managed to capture the imagination and ever-decreasing attention span of a global audience for over a decade. This said, I can understand why a show with so much anticipation would have the writers scratching their heads asking, what the hell do we do? Do we go bold, shocking, and unexpected, or do we play it safe and pander to fan service? Well, the result sits somewhere in the upside down, a chaotic mix of everything you'd expect, but not necessarily what dedicated fans of the last 10 years deserve.
My story was always going to end here.
Before I go any further, I want to make one thing crystal clear. I enjoyed it. This doesn't mean I thought that it was the next Godfather, but for a show that has become nostalgic for simply taking so long to release, I'd say the Duffers can rest easy knowing they didn't deliver another Game of Thrones. With all that out of the way, let's dig into the final season. The original recipe is still here, but definitely feels outdated due to the cast's noticeable age shift. Now, I know you can't stop actors growing up, and we also need to consider COVID and the writers' strike. But instead of seeing this as a hindrance, I would have seen this as a massive opportunity. The chance to fine-tune the story and mature the writing along with the actors. Sadly though, I don't believe this crossed anybody's minds, as I'll explain later in the video, but the finale definitely suffers because of this. The last season is visually stunning.
I'm sorry, you're just looking super sexy right now.
No one can argue that the CGI and set pieces aren't incredible, especially from the Demogorgons all the way up to the Mind Flare. But this doesn't always mean they're perfect. In comparison to earlier seasons, the lighting and visuals are far too clean. This is most noticeable in the Upside Down with brighter environments and less eeriness. A bigger budget doesn't always mean bigger creativity, and this is why I mainly gravitate to earlier seasons when showrunners would be more experimental to achieve a new and exciting look. In keeping with the show's traditions, wholesome humor is also scattered throughout to break up the world-ending intensity. Although it sometimes lands, other times it feels forced. This, along with retro references, it's almost as if you can hear the writer's inner monologue saying, oh, this scene is going on a bit too long. I know, a dick joke might fix this.
Too big, it's not gonna fit.
Steve hears that all the time and he goes in anyway, don't you, Steve?
What the hell's wrong with you? It's funny.
Robin and Derek, I'm looking at you. Speaking of writing, we definitely need to discuss the story and its characters, which now has the entire internet clutching its straws while screaming that conformity gate is coming.
How about the fact that when we finally reach Hop and L, we promptly ditch them to pursue this bullshit theory of yours?
I'm not saying that the world is in denial, but if I'm wrong, you can mock me later. This is also an excuse to rattle off my notes, so this video doesn't go on for hours. Let's start. The rift was a red herring at the end of season 4, which definitely left a sour taste in my mouth from the get-go, but was one of the few unexpected moments, so I'll let that slide. Volume 1 had so many amazing sequences that it was hard to process before the next massive event exploded onto screen. I also think this is the same reason why so many people thought Volume 2 was lacking, as all the excitement had been crammed into the first 4 episodes. Ironically, this is also the reason why Volume 2 was my favourite, as it gave the audience and characters time to breathe. Holly the Heroic is a standout who really thrives in having the torch to pass down. Personally, I'd say she delivered the most consistent performance and was the most engaging. On the flip side, Delightful Derek suffered the most from forced humour, but grew on me as his character became more fleshed out than just the screaming fat kid.
Who gave you this map?
Your mom!
The base situated in the Upside Down felt completely wrong, especially when the military were still using guns when knowing full well that fire is their one and only defense. Granted, they do have a couple of flamethrowers here and there, but if those are the only assets they're using, it does beg the question how they even managed to build such a structure in such a hostile environment. Hopper's death, which continuing late into the final season, felt painfully disingenuous.
I don't want to hear shit anymore.
The show had already taken viewers on this ride, so doing it again felt like completely unnecessary fluff. His and Joyce's relationship also felt hollow this season, not because they lacked chemistry, but because when looking out for both of their kids, they clearly had identical flawed agendas that when challenged was completely hypocritical, and yet neither of them learned a lesson until confronted by their respected kids. Max and Lucas still held a large portion of emotional weight from last season, highlighting the powerful stakes. Yet this isn't a negative as such, but creating emotional stakes in this season would have been so much more effective. I found Will finding solace in Robin very wholesome and narratively makes the most sense. These two were walking similar paths of self-discovery, so why wouldn't they come together? Dustin's spiral into emotional numbness also makes complete sense after Eddie's tragic death, but you know what doesn't? Seeing everyone disregarding his obvious cry for help, and instead of helping, everyone just pointed fingers and blame onto the show's most lovable character.
Please don't let it happen again. Not you. I'm sorry.
No.
Walk 'em Down Wheelers really live up to their name this season, and the home invasion is the best example. The scene gives a beautiful blend of horror, action, and tension, almost reminiscent of what made Stranger Things so good in the first place. Steve, Jonathan, and Nancy's love triangle was funny in places, but tiresome in others, which I thought was a great reflection of the characters' own emotions. This also gave the writers an excuse to add Jonathan into the Dustin and Harrington show, which was definitely put on the ropes this season. Now, we can't talk about Stranger Things without addressing Elle. I understand the internet mocking Millie Bobby Brown's questionable expressions when using her powers, but her neutral delivery in heavier seasons didn't feel appropriate. She had plenty of time to develop her conversational skills from her traumatic upbringing in season 1, but I can see why she would want her performance to stay consistent for the final season. Again, not a negative, but I don't agree with the character choice. Being honest, I found the reveal of Mr. Whatsit surprising, despite it being obvious, as I thought this would be a great opportunity to introduce a new character to delve deeper into the mystery. This thought remained throughout the entirety of the final season for me, as I thought the reason for Henry not being able to enter the cave would have provided a bigger internal conflict than just someone hurt me and now I'm evil.
I didn't even understand it myself for the longest time.
Yes, I know there's a Broadway show that explains this more, but this should have been more prevalent in the show to deliver bigger impact. Controversial opinion, but after Will defeated multiple Demogorgons by embracing who he truly is, the coming out scene became redundant. I'm not saying it wasn't emotional, but it did nothing to serve the story, as we established very quickly that Vecna's visions are little but scare tactics. If anything, it should have caused a distraction before and during the final battle, as this was Vecna's likely intention. It also didn't help that these so-called visions were also left once again out of the show, like many other crucial scenes.
What's happening?
He's in a memory now.
Finally, my biggest pet peeve is that during the final confrontation with Vecna and the Mind Flayer, the Demogorgons, Demodogs, and Demobats have seemingly vanished from their home planet. Now, I've heard that the military had wiped most of them out, experimenting on them, or that Vecna was taken off guard, so calling upon them wasn't an option. But come on. Not only are the Demogorgons the face of Stranger Things, but it's their damn homeworld. I think the reason the finale felt so easy was that the focus was on one situation. Unlike the end of season 4, where Max plus Elle were facing Vecna, Dustin and Eddie were the distraction, Steve, Nancy and Robin were at the Creel house, and Lucas was fighting the school bully. We need variety, and having to face Demogorgons while fighting the Mind Flayer and Vecna, and even the impending military, might have been the extra element the Duffers needed to truly polish off this amazing show. I'm not even going to get into how or why 11 survived, or why the military just forgot everyone's war crimes, as I've definitely rambled on long enough. To end my thoughts on a high, seeing the cast move up the stairs as a final farewell and seeing the next generation dive into the world of D&D definitely brought a tear to my eye. With all their downfalls, the Duffers still managed to capture what Stranger Things meant to people. It's a wonderful adventure about life and coming of age. Do I think the marketing and remarks from the Duffers misled many fans and created much larger expectations than were needed? 100%. But this doesn't mean the ride wasn't worth taking. But that's just my opinion. So what did you think of the final season? Did you like the final chapter or just enjoy the ride? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, this doesn't happen without you.